Hi, this is Gary Auden. Welcome to this EDUcast, Hospital Phones for Revenue, sponsored by Foodie and Telecom Reseller. As we always do, we talk about who's going to be on this EDUcast. I'm Gary Auden, and John Grubb, Senior Vice President of Marketing of Foodie, is with us today. What we're going to talk about today are hospitality opportunities, things like dining rooms, room service. The idea of the foodie, which John is going to talk about because I hadn't heard the term before, speed dial for revenue, and Foodie Examples. So our focus is mostly going to be on how to put a phone in that produces revenue beyond just simply telephone calls. So John, let's start with the first slide. When someone said hospitality, there's more than just hotels here, isn't there?
Sure, there are motels, and as the slide says, there's conference centers, and of course there's a play with healthcare, hospitals, nursing homes, senior living facilities, bed and breakfast, and also I would say in the corporate, general business, there are applications there as well.
So we're talking about some of these applications. Let's talk about the dining room first. And you mentioned the term foodie phone. Is that a real name for a phone for you?
Well, that's just an acronym that we're using for the H3000 because it lends itself so brilliantly to that term and to that application. You can see in the slide the 6 programmable speed dials are quite large, and the buttons are large for dialing as well. But the application isn't only for maybe elderly or vision impaired people, but there's a basic application for quick dialing for food. And because of the emergence of what are called foodies, or people that really like to go out and eat food at different restaurants and share that online with their friends, we see this as a real application for dining rooms in any venue, as we said in the previous slide, whether it's a hotel, a nursing home, a hospital, or even a business cafeteria.
I'm going to go off script a moment and ask, I think, an interesting question. Is this actually playing into the impulsiveness of a lot of younger people where they want to do something right away? So with a speed dial, it makes that so much easier?
Yes, although I'm not sure it's limited to just to older people, because not just millennials and the younger groups are foodies, but a lot of older people who are quite active on social media can relate to this phone as well.
Well, let's move from the dining room to room service and talk about the revenue possibilities there.
Well, contrary to popular belief, full-service hotels, particularly those that serve international guests, are still reporting very strong hotel room, phone, telecom revenues. And as we can see from the slide, there are thousands of annual guest service key or speed dial requests for phone. Just a single button push brings this in-house food service to the room.
I notice here with your example of the hotel, it's over $1 million a year in revenue.
It's a major, major amount of money. And really, as I said, it is contrary to popular belief, because if you read the media, if you particularly in hospitality, there's the idea, well, people don't use the room phone anymore. Nothing could be further from the truth. When it comes to calling room to room, or calling for services within the hotel, or dialing internationally, the room phone is still very much in favor.
We mentioned the term millennials earlier, and this I thought was very interesting.
Yes, and they're going to be, and are already a major travel generation, and they're willing to pay more per night, and they cite food as a key factor in where they're going to stay. So millennials do have smartphones. They know how to use them. They know how to read restaurant reviews, and they know how to contact local eateries, even outside of the hotel, obviously. But full service hotels are presented with an added challenge of how to easily connect the millennial travelers to on-property dining services. So the H3000 big button phone by Cytec really helps property expedite their food connections with millennials and with other travelers of all ages via pre-programmed speed dials. And these can be in the room, they could be in the lobby, they can be in the common areas, and accessible to people who want to just push a button and get some food service sent to their room or to the location they are in the hotel.
I used the term foodies earlier, and let's explore that term a little bit more.
Well, certainly millennials, as I said, aren't the only foodies. The foodies of all ages and economic backgrounds are fascinated with food and like to watch food shows and post their own restaurant experiences on social media. Now they can easily connect through the easy to read, H3000 foodie phone throughout a property. So they have a venue now right in the guest room or in the lobby or in the common areas where they can connect immediately via speed dial.
Yeah, look at the last bullet here. They search for cuisine options. When I travel, that gets past all my boredom and my isolation. I think it's important to me as well, and I'm not a millennial. It's just part of the travel experience.
Right.
You mentioned the term speed dial and the production of revenue. Let's go further into that.
Well, if we're talking about on-property food service, restaurants need to have traffic. And the H3000 with 6 programmable speed dial buttons is a great way to drive traffic to a hotel restaurant, a hospital restaurant, a corporate restaurant. And the pictures demonstrate how big the icons are and how easily they are to customize. And there's really just a little tab there on each one. You just tab them up and put the picture, the pre-cut picture in there or graphic or icon right in there, snap the key down, program the key, and it goes directly to the restaurant. So, in some facilities, there are multiple restaurants, not just one. So you can program them for up to 6 different food venues within the particular facility.
This I thought was interesting. This local restaurants that are not part of the hotel being on the speed dial as another form of revenue.
Well, it's smart business to tap into foodie revenues, and that's why we've named this phone the Foodie phone, because it really plays to the desires of people of all ages to explore different foods. But you're right, if a hotel doesn't have in-house food services, it's a great way to help guests or visitors to a facility to find local fare, and one touch brings them there. The other advantage is that the facility can lease the speed dials to the local restaurant and derive income from that. And they could set up the lease agreement however they want to, by the number of calls, by the amount of food delivered. And it would be a great revenue generator for the hotel, for the facility.
I found in traveling, and I've not traveled a lot over the last 30 years, I prefer the hotels that are offering breakfast and free internet service. But when I look at the more expensive hotels, breakfast is not included and internet's not included. So the idea of going to a hotel that only has breakfast and has these speed dials is very attractive.
It is. One touch can get your breakfast delivered, or at least get you a reservation, tell you where, get you directions, and find a place to eat.
Let's continue with that discussion, talk more about food and beverage.
Right. Well, hotels, healthcare, general business facilities, that don't offer in-house dining services or the variety of food services desired by employees or visitors or guests, again, that the H3000 big button phone can be programmed to direct dial the local restaurants. Not everybody has food and beverage on site. And so this is a great way to provide a service to your hotel guests or your customers who are hungry, and not just hungry oftentimes, but really see going out to eat as a food experience that they want to share.
So that goes into the next slide, which is the foodie program examples.
Well, there are a lot of popular shows, as I mentioned earlier, Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives, the Food Network, and Anthony Bourdain, the No Reservations on the Travel Channel. And it's just increasingly common to find travelers that consider themselves foodies.
I thought your concept You mentioned a little bit earlier of leasing the guest service button, the guest service keys, as being an interesting revenue producer.
Yes, it is. And particularly if you've got some easy to read dial buttons. Leasing speed dial keys to local restaurants really is an excellent way to drive new revenue streams and cultivate some new local relationships and improve guest satisfaction. Because what do guests do? Nowadays, they want to talk about not just their food experience, but their experience at the hotel. And so hotels are increasingly interested in in how their ratings show up out on the network, out on the internet.
Now, we've talked about the speed dial and the buttons. We've talked about revenue production. I'd like to go off script a moment. There's something called Carey's Law, which was generated a while ago because a child was trying to dial 911 and didn't know to dial 9911. Can this speed dial help us in that emergency situation?
Yes, the H3000 phone, you could take one of the 6 and set it up, pre-program it to direct dial 911. I don't know that you'd want to put it, all over the facility, but you could certainly do it in the guest room. And if they don't want to do that, then we have other phones that have what we call one-touch voicemail retrieval, which is a patented technology we have. But if a facility wanted to program that button, it's a lighted button to 911, that can be done as well.
You've been talking about the Foodie phone. Let's spend a little more time talking about that.
Well, we just see the H3000 as a great way to connect guests, to connect visitors of facilities, whether it's a hospital or a general business facility, to either an in-house restaurant or a local restaurant. And either way, the facility is going to drive revenue because people have to eat. Nowadays, people really want a foodie experience. And so with 6 different options there for restaurants within the facility or locally outside the facility, this is a great phone for any hotelier or corporate owner, healthcare facility to place in their guest rooms, in their common areas, in their lobbies, as a service to their guests.
I'd like to point out that John provides an awful lot of resources here. We talked about blogs and podcasts and so forth. We also have done some EDUcasts in the past about previous lines of products that Cetis has. If you want to get a hold of John, he's Senior Vice President of Marketing. Here's his connection. Their LinkedIn, their portfolio, their products. I'd like to thank you, John. It was rather enlightening. I never thought of a phone as being a revenue generator other than just for telephone calls. Thank you again.
Thank you, Gary.